following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
What's up, Roxy?
What is up?
How are you?
I'm doing great. How's it going?
It is going awesome. Your voice and attitude all seem so much better this week. Are you feeling better?
Yes, definitely. Things
Amazing.
are definitely going much better.
What the hell is that?
She's getting away from me. So back by demand.
What is that?
From Standout Serpents. Go check us out, standoutserpents.com on Facebook or Instagram. This is Eureka. She's a reticulated python.
Wow.
She's one of the longest snakes. So she will grow up to like 20 feet long. She's definitely going to be big. And she's got this beautiful iridescence to her, which the camera can't really pick it up, but gosh, she's gorgeous, isn't she?
Man. So, like, how big does that snake get?
She can get about 20 feet long.
20 feet. Wow. And like, so how long is she now? Because I know cameras are deceptive. So how long, if she were to stretch her out? If
she's probably only like 4 or 5 feet long. She's not that big right now. She's still pretty young.
How much does she eat in a day?
She eats a small rat a week.
A week.
It takes them a while to digest, so she will eat that rat, and her muscles will tear down. Her acids in her stomach will break everything down, including the bones, the fur, all that good jazz.
Do they bite? Like, does it hurt? Like, I mean, do you bleed if they like, or do they just choke you to death, or like what's that particular snake's thing?
There's a trust earned here. So, I mean, if you go up to a snake in the wild that you don't know, they've never seen you, they're like, human, what is that? Oh my goodness. They might probably bite you. But you develop a trust with them and you let them know that you're not here to hurt them. You're not going to harm them in any way. Then they develop a trust and they know that you're there for food. You give them food every week. They're happy.
Are they like expensive, like dogs and cats and other four-legged things?
So, okay, let's go with morphs. Just like dogs, you know, dogs, they have different breeds, right? So you can have pit bulls, you can have Rottweilers and pugs, all kinds of different breeds. Well, that's the same with snakes. You have breeds, and you can pay higher dollar for certain breeds. Certain morphs, what you breed each dog to. She is a very expensive snake. She is a Motley Golden child. So when she grows up, she's going to have this beautiful blue iridescence. And if anybody's seen Jay's Prehistoric Pets, they know that blue iridescent snake.
Yeah.
If you can see that there.
Wow.
The iridescence
in
is
a black
fabulous.
light. Is that one of those snakes that, like, in a black light, whatever, like really glows?
Not really in the black light. If you're going to go in that direction, there's a scorpion that does that. The emperor scorpion definitely glows in the black light. But
so she's not like high maintenance per se, huh?
Well, if you do not hold her a lot, she's going to get used to not being held, and she's not going to like it. So she might have that tendency to bite. So she's definitely a snake that you want to get out more often than just,
That's awesome.
a piece of art on the wall. She's more than that. Very inquisitive.
Yeah. David says, yeah, that's a hard pass at 20 feet long.
It's funny. Leads are my favorite because they're so curious, inquisitive, and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good until I'm not. Like I'm I'm good until like it starts wrapping around me once or twice, and I'm kind of like, you haven't even bought me dinner yet, and you're already getting fresh. So I don't know if we can hang out.
Boom. How do you like that?
That's pretty awesome.
So let's get back to why we're here tonight with everybody. Thank you for joining in, everybody.
Yes, I'm going to give a shout out to everybody on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, on all of our streaming platforms here, there, and after the show. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. We appreciate you guys. And a couple shout outs real quick. The BDP crew on TikTok, thank you guys so much for all your support and sharing us out and getting us out there. We appreciate you. And everybody under the sun, tonight's fun. I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm so excited for this. So I will let the lady kick it off first, and fill us in. Come on, you have the hard copy of this book that I'm uber in love with, and I can't find it in my local store. They're sold out. They don't have any, so I'm gonna have to order it from the website.
Yeah, Leland Sklar's Beard. So Leland Sklar is our guest tonight. Got the hard copy here. Once I put my lady up, I will show you a little bit more about it. And we'll get Leland on here soon, very, very soon. But let me tell you about how legendary he is. I've been following Leland for a very long time, back when he was in Phil Collins and all that. He's did his own musical adventures as well, his own tours overseas, so many amazing things. And he's somebody that can pick up the bass and just adapt to his surroundings and just pick up and go with it. And it's an acquired skill. It really is. And I have a profound love for him, always have for many, many years. So I'm really pleased to have him on tonight. And I know you guys are going to be excited to hear how humble he is. That's one thing I've learned about Leland, how humble he is. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. That's W4CY, Talk 4 TV, and Music Familia Productions.
Yes.
And I can't be more excited. So we got to bring him on.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Yes.
There he is.
Me, humble.
Me. Leland, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm fabulous. I'm so thrilled to be joining you, and I'm really excited to see Eureka. I think I've always had a fondness for everything reptilian, and snakes I've always found to be such an incredibly fascinating entity. So it's thrilling to see this beautiful creature with you on here. That's great.
Yeah, they are amazing. I deal with a lot of reptilian creatures, whether it be lizards, snakes, all kinds of things. And it's one of the best things of my life, actually, other than music, is just the phenomenon of what they are, what they're about, all their adaptations in life. It's incredible.
Well, it's also it's one of these things. They are such an exquisite animal. I mean, basically, when you look at almost anything reptilian, the body shapes, their skin. I mean, like we were talking about the iridescence of the blue. I mean, they're just like really Mother Nature went all out when it created these special beings. It's cool. I really dig it.
And did you know with the venomous snakes that they have found certain types of cures for like breast cancer and diabetes and things within the venom that they produce? And it's amazing.
Well, they've gotten a bad rap. I mean, I can never understand it when somebody goes, "Ooh, a snake, ooh, creepy," and I go, "Really? Have you ever really actually handled one?" It's like when you watch somebody trying to hand a snake to somebody and how so many people are so uptight about it, and you go, "God, feel that muscle, just feel, this other complete being that we're kind of cohabiting here with. Enjoy them and embrace them." To me,
exactly. Yes. They're definitely majestical.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, I think, Leland, they get a bad rap because a lot of people have farms, and their first encounter is normally like in a field or a farm. And I think if there was somebody there to stop them and be like, "Hey, wait a minute, this is this, this, and this," they may not be
Yeah.
so afraid of it. If I don't know, if I would have had somebody tell me what it was, I might not have been so terrified. But instead, they got thrown on me, and that's how I got my fear.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have friends that my sister-in-law lives in Arizona, and they'll come out on their patio and there'll be a diamondback rattlesnake there that could cause you some serious grief if, I mean, it's not everything. It isn't all kumbaya when it comes down to it, because they have defense mechanisms when they're confronted, and you have to just figure it all out. And you try to do the best you can and not create a bad situation with them.
Yeah, knowledge is key, right?
Yeah.
Knowledge is key with so many things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna turn this into the knowledge is key into what you've done, Leland, as far as the music industry goes. A sessional musician. Can you tell all of our listeners what exactly that you do as far as that?
Well, I started I started playing music when I was 5 years old, but my real career began around 1969 when I met James Taylor, who was just arriving on the scene, and I kind of it was very strange. I went from being a guy that played in bar bands and had never been in a recording studio to suddenly linking up with somebody who became kind of the golden boy of a new movement in music. And I was sitting kind of right next to him and found myself almost overnight in a studio every day, working with all different artists, trying to learn what the studio was about at the same time, having really not had any experience in it. So it started off as kind of like being thrown right into the middle of the frying pan. But it's been great. I always considered myself a live musician. I love touring. I love playing any kind of venue, from 80,000 seat stadium to a small club with 50 people in it. To me, I like them all. And but with James, things became quite dramatic. Like I said, overnight we played the. I was to explain a little bit, I was in a band in the late 60s called Wolfgang here in Los Angeles. And our drummer had a friend named John Fishbeck, who owned a recording studio in Hollywood called Crystal Recorders. And John did all of the early Stevie Wonder records, like Song in the Key of Life and things like that. And he had a friend of his he had known forever, who had just gotten back from England. And he brought this friend of his to one of our rehearsals, and it was James Taylor. And James had just returned from doing his Apple album and had come back and had just finished recording Sweet Baby James. And he got offered a gig at the Troubadour here in LA. And they had kind of most of the band was intact. They had Russ Kunkel to play drums. They had Danny Korchmar to play guitar, and they had Carole King playing piano. And they needed a bass player. And James remembered me from this rehearsal. And he said, I heard a guy, we should find him. And they, probably through John Fishbeck, they tracked me down and asked me if I would play this gig at the Troubadour with them. And I said, sure, I'd love to. I was completely blown away when James came and hung out with us at our rehearsal. He played us some of his songs, and we were all going, Jesus, this guy. I mean, we were a total, stone rock and roll band. So, I mean, his music wasn't what we were doing, but we could certainly appreciate the gift and talent that this guy had. And then all of a sudden, I played this one gig with him, and the next thing you know, he's on the cover of Time magazine as the forefront of this new singer-songwriter movement. And one of the best things that happened for me during that period, I owe so much to Peter Asher, who produced and managed James, but he was part of Peter and Gordon, part of the English invasion of the 60s, and he was the A&R guy at Apple Records. The first artist they ever signed to the Beatles label was James. And but Peter, when we started recording with James, really for the first time insisted that our names appear on the album. And we're with the Wrecking Crew and the people of like the late 50s through the 60s got no album credit. So people would be listening to Frank Sinatra and the Mamas and the Papas and the Association and the Beach Boys, not knowing it was the same musicians on all of those records. So having Peter put our names on it, all of a sudden we had this movement with all of these singer-songwriters being signed. And they would look at James's record probably because he was the top of the heap at that point, and see my name and Russ Kunkel and Danny Korchmar and Craig Durkee. And they would go, well, if they're good enough for James, let's hire those guys. And next thing you know, I had a career that I never expected. And I'm diligent and I love what I do. So I've never backed down, and it's been, going on 52 years now of this doing solidly. But I've always balanced studio and touring because to me, to get out on the road and get in front of an audience really is the greatest gift of all. I love the process of making records, but there's something really magical about playing for people. So that's my Cliff Notes version of me.
That's incredible. It's fundamental for sure.
Yeah.
And that led you on a huge journey. Of course, you got to play with a bunch of different bands. You've got to tour with your own band.
Yeah.
I know I can say I've listened to many podcasts with you on it. I remember a story of a train, how there was this little train with this little boy. I remember this. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
It's one of the greatest experiences of my life. It's a funny thing, when I would talk to, do interviews and press and all that, and they would say, tell us some road stories. And, they're always looking for something with a lot of dirt and funk in it. And the stories that have had the greatest impact on me are really very humanistic and touching. And they've touched me really deeply in my soul. And it's not so much, saying, oh man, did you have mud wrestlers backstage and, all that kind of crap that people are hoping for. And meeting this family in Scotland on their way to Ireland. And this happened in 1990 and we're still friends to this day. And when we were just with Phil Collins a couple of years ago in Dublin, the family all came to the gig, and, the little boy that was the connection for me with this family, David, was 4 years old when I met them and this whole relationship started. And he's like 30 something now. And it's surreal sometimes. But it's a really touching thing in my life. And I'll be friends with these people for the rest of my life.
That's incredible. Those are the stories that I like to stumble across.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
It brings me back to the term humble. It's what you are.
Well, we're all in this together. I mean, to me, everything's pretty much about, the world we live in and humanity. And I have no patience for people that start copying attitudes and, just because they're flying in a private plane or something, they think they're, better than people. And that's
Entitlement.
Yeah, that to me, that's all just kind of bullshit. I have no patience for it. But, I really I appreciate and respect the opportunities I've had in this business and the people I've met and the pleasure that not only that we've been able to bring to other people, but the pleasure that the people bring to us too. And it's a real symbiotic relationship between the musician and the audience. And I think it's something to be embraced and nurtured. And I don't like the idea of a wall separating, us all. So,
Leland, do you, with that being said, do you, in a situation like that with the fans versus the musicians, do you aim for the never ending a pursuit of perfection, or is it better to strive for completion?
I think you could probably do both. I mean, perfection, I think, is impossible. You want to be the best you can possibly be. And I guess that would be striving towards perfection. But I think no matter how good things are going, all of a sudden you'll see something else, or you'll see somebody else and you go, holy crap, do I have a lot to learn? Let's check them out. And so, you're always striving for that. But I just want to feel engaged and doing the best work I possibly can at any given time. And sometimes, you're not as good as others, and other times the magic happens. But that's really, there's so many things that come into the equation of every time you pick up your instrument, be it on the road or in the studio, that you take each thing on an individual basis. But man, I pinch myself every day, not only for the fact that I just enjoy pinching myself, but for the fact that, I just feel really lucky, that I've had the career I've had. And I thought by this age I'd be out to pasture, and I'm as busy as I've ever been under the circumstances of COVID and what we've gone through.
Yeah, you've definitely got a YouTube channel, the Leland Sklar YouTube, that's going strong, and you're on there all the time performing.
Well, I haven't missed a day since March 23rd of last year. I think today was like my 740 something video that I've put up. Now, I put at least one video up every single day, and sometimes a lot of it's just me sitting. And the way that started was when we finished Phil Collins's the last tour I did with him, which was the Not Dead Yet tour. I had some bass players writing to me going, man, we saw you guys like in Argentina or Germany, wherever. And, we were playing stadiums, and they said, it was really sounded great, but we couldn't hear some of the details because of the size of the venue. And I decided at that point to do examples. So what I did was I had our front of house mixer, Michel Collin, send me one of our shows, the board mix of it. And I loaded it in my laptop, plugged in a little Bose speaker into my laptop, and have a bass amp sitting right here next to me. And so what I did was I decided to start with the first song of the show, and every day I would do another song in order of the show. And what I did was mix it so that coming out of the speaker was the board mix, but coming out of the amp, I played with it until the bass was a little bit louder than the track so you could hear every note. And then I've recorded it on, this is a funky setup I've got here. When I'm filming myself, I've got a C-clamp holding a selfie stick to the drawer of my desk and stuff. And I'm doing it all, it's all on my phone. And so I did that and posted it on YouTube. And then the next day I did the second song. Well, by the third day, I had people writing to me going, man, we love your new YouTube channel. And I'm going, what are you talking about? And they go, oh, that stuff you're showing us. And I go, I didn't think doing that was going to create a channel. I was just trying to show some examples. Well, I got through the whole show except for the last song of the show, which is Take Me Home. And I'm going to save that one for the very final video I ever do on this channel. And that'll be my way of closing it out. But I did all that. Then I suddenly went, well, now I'm done with this, but I'm really enjoying this. So what am I going to do? So then I started digging archivally into things and pulled up stuff like Dr. My Eyes with Jackson Browne and played that, or songs from Spectrum with Billy Cobham, and stuff with Linda Ronstadt. And so I've played along with a ton of stuff, but every single thing I've posted has been stuff I've played on. And at this point too, there's a lot of things that happen in the studio that you really can't recreate sitting here, but you can discuss it and talk about the process and who was there, what studio you were in, all kinds of just basic information. And then I just like to sit here and listen to it and kind of time travel and go back into the studio and think about Cutting Rich Girl with Hall & Oates, and different things like that. And so I play along with it, and I've got about 166,000 people on the channel now, and they're pretty diehard musos on there. And through that, I created a clubhouse where I do 2 live streams a month that are for a couple hours each. And then I have a kind of a VIP day where we can sit and do one-on-one FaceTime or Skypes. And I talk to them for about 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on the time. And on that day, I end up talking to about 22 people. So it turns into like a 12-hour day of sitting and talk. And I love it. I've always been one of those people, like when we would be on the road, like with James Taylor, and we'd play places like Blossom in Cuyahoga Falls, and doing those gigs where like the band would be hanging out in the dressing room. I'd go out and walk on the lawn and just visit people, sit down, have some fried chicken with a family that's come to see the show. And I love that part of it. I love that relationship with people that are a part of the music, because without an audience, you're just a sound check, And so, I've always tried to have that relationship with people that are that love the music, and it's been great, man. I have no complaints at all, and we're getting ready to hit the road again. And I was just in Berkeley 2 nights ago playing a gig up there, and so.
And what do you have upcoming next?
Well, I've got a thing next week, but then after that, we have a band called the Immediate Family, and it's the guys pretty much that I've been playing with for half a century: Danny Korchmar and Russ Kunkel and Waddy Wachtel and myself. And then we brought in a youngster who, he's like 10 years younger than us, named Steve Postel. And we're just a rock and roll band, man. That when we started, we would tell everybody that we were a cover band that only plays originals, because that's really what we were doing. Because the guys, we've been a part of so many people's careers, like the Warren Zevons and Jackson Browns and James Taylors and all these people. And not only did we do their albums, but a lot of it, we were involved in the songwriting, in the production, and then in the touring. So we've been hitting it. Actually, today we just did an okay marked off an okay on our new video for a song called Divorced. And that'll be coming out soon. And we hit the beginning of November. We got three shows in Southern California, and then we head back to the East Coast, and we'll be doing about a 2-week run on the East Coast. But we're building towards next year. The album that we've got out right now, we finished before the pandemic, but then the pandemic hit, and like for everybody else, it seemed fruitless to release it when you couldn't do anything to help promote it. So we've been dropping EPs throughout the year and videos, and we got into a cappella videos where we were doing that. And then we went back in the studio and cut another album. So we got an album ready to go next year. And there's a great documentary movie that if anybody's either never heard of it or never seen it, called The Wrecking Crew. It's about the great studio musicians of Los Angeles from back in the late 50s through the 60s, who did all these incredible records. And the great Tommy Tedesco was the guitarist the main guitarist in the Wrecking Crew. And his son, Denny Tedesco, did this movie about paying homage to his dad and all those people. Excuse me. Well, they approached us, a production company, and they're doing a documentary film about the Immediate Family, which will be out probably. They're in at this point, they're in editing the movie now. I have no idea what this is going to be like. I mean, they've kept it away from us, but we've contributed, but we haven't seen any footage, and it'll be out probably in the third quarter of next year. And so we're really excited about that. So, I mean, there's lots of stuff going on, and we're doing a Rock Legends cruise again in February. from Florida, the Grand Caymans with Deep Purple and a bunch of people. And that'll be fun because I've been working on an album with Ian Pace from Deep Purple, the drummer. So it'll be fun to hang out and, you know, just share stories and stuff with all the maniacs that'll be on that ship.
Deep Purple is definitely another legend.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That's exciting that you're with them on that, with their drummer.
Yeah.
I know you did a tour with in Japan. Can you tell us a little bit about how the difference is with touring in Japan and touring the United States?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really unique. I've been really fortunate over the years. I've done a lot of albums with a lot of Japanese artists, and I've toured with Japanese artists too in Japan. But the first time I went to Japan was with James Taylor, and I think we went in 1971. And the one thing that was always fascinating to me about working over there is, I mean, the first off, the fans over there are really the kind of people that you can't pull anything over their eyes. I mean, I remember Danny doing an interview, and a guy said to him, "Now, on this one song on a James Taylor record, did you use a different guitar on it?" And Danny thought back and he went, "Holy crap, I think I played a Les Paul on that one." I mean, they dig in so deep into you that they know so much more about you than you've ever known about yourself. And but the thing that was always funny was the audiences, for the most part, are incredibly respectful. And when we toured with Phil Collins in 1990 in Japan, it was on our But Serious tour. Our stage was a big round stage at the end of the arena, and it looked like a giant carousel. And it had these scrims that came down with all these horses painted on it. But when the show would start, these things would all lift up, and then it looked like the mothership. We had about 500 Very lights built into the thing, and it was amazing production. But I remember we would be inside this thing waiting for the show to start, and then and Daryl Sturmer and I, the guitarist, we kind of look at each other and go, "Have they even opened the doors yet? It's so quiet." And we peeked out in there, and the place was totally packed, with everybody just sitting in their seats waiting for the show to start, where in the States, people are going crazy and beach balls flying through the place and everything. So it's a different energy and a different vibe, but they are such a deeply respectful audience. And we went over there with the immediate family, and it was wonderful. But the craziest part was we played the show, and our show was like probably an hour and a half in like the Blue Note. But when the show ended, they had a meet and greet, and the meet and greet was probably over 2 hours. I mean, everybody who came to the gig was in the line, and they wanted things autographed and pictures taken and stuff. I mean, they're a really dedicated audience in Japan. I treasure going over there. They are really, I have a lot of friends in Japan, and like I said, I've worked with a lot of Japanese artists over the years, and you're definitely a stranger in a strange land when you're over there, but it's a cool thing. So I dig it.
Wow, I like that. Definitely.
I want to go back soon. We're ready to go back. We were supposed to be back this year, but COVID, shut everything down. So.
With COVID, what kind of changes did you make to adapt to the situations?
Everything. I mean, it was basically, I had a whole, when this all started, I was looking at least a year's worth of work that evaporated like a fart in a hurricane. It was just over. And I'm kind of going, I'm so used to being busy and having a full book of studio and touring and all that. So it caught me off guard, but it was one of those situations where I kind of thought, what do I do now? Rather than kind of going, oh, hell, this sucks. Woe is me kind of a thing, because everybody was being hit by this, of course. So, like I said, the YouTube thing ended up happening, and I found I would have never in a million years have even thought about doing that if it hadn't been for COVID, because I would have been busy doing other things, and it would have never really entered my mind. I had never recorded from home before. Whenever somebody would say, "Can you put bass on a track for me?" I had friends with home studios, and it was an excuse to get together and go out to lunch and whatever. So I'd call them up and say, "Can I come over and we'll let me do a bass part, and then let's go get some pizza," kind of a thing. But with COVID, needless to say, we weren't getting together or doing that. And a friend of mine named Gussie Miller here in town, he and some friends wanted to do a cover of Easy Lover, Phil Collins and Philip Bailey. And he said, "Man, would you play on it?" And I said, "Man, I'd love to, but I'm not set up for home recording. I don't know, what to do." And he had friends at SSL, and the next thing I know, they sent me right here.
SSL, great.
They sent me an SSL 2 Plus interface, and I called Steve Postel from our band, and I said, "Hey, give me a tutorial on GarageBand, because that's all for the bass parts. That's all I needed." And I ended up doing it for them, and I put it on my YouTube channel, and I think it has like 600,000 views on that song. And so people found out, and I've done 2 albums for some artists down in New Zealand. Been working on I did some stuff for an artist in India, South America, Scandinavia. I just finished a really cool project with an artist out of Finland. So it's been great. I haven't really opened up and told people this is what I want to be doing, but it's been really, nice to still feel that. And then on top of that, that's when the book happened too. And I would have never done that book had I not had the time to do it. There it is. There's me.
So as soon as I found out about the coffee table book, I ordered it right away, and it's incredible. I've got pages marked in here, but I mean, it's humanity, right?
Yeah. Well,
Humanity.
I'll give you a quick synopsis of where this madness came from. When we were doing Phil Collins's first final farewell tour at the beginning of 2004, they had hired a bass tech for me named Steve Winstead, and his nickname was Chinner. And basically, I've always been self-sufficient on the road. I've always done my own gear and stuff. And this guy came in super prepared, a great roadie, great bass tech. And he said, "What do you need? What do you need? What do you need?" And I said, "Nothing. I don't know. We'll have to figure something out, but I usually do it all myself." So, and we were out for about a year. I mean, it was a really, a long tour. And we joked all the time. He ended up being like this overqualified gopher for everybody. He worked with the background singers. He worked with the drum, tech and all this stuff. So at the end of the tour, there was word that Phil might retire at the end of the tour. And I thought, man, we had like 100 crew people out there. And I thought I may never see a lot of these people again, because they were from all over the world. I mean, they put together these amazing crews, but they're really scattered far and wide. So I thought, I'm just going to take a picture of everybody on the crew and put it, in my laptop, and just have a little folder that, someday down the pike, when I'm sitting in my Depends and stuff, reminiscing, I can look at that and remember it. Well, as luck would have it, the first person I go up to is my bass tech, Steve, and he's sitting at his laptop working. I said, "Hey, Chinner, give me a smile." And as he's typing, he just goes. And I took his picture and I looked at it and I went, "Ooh, that's kind of cool." So I went and I got Phil and his manager. I got all the band. I got all the crew, the bus drivers, the pilots with us, the caterers. Ended up with about 140 pictures. And everybody giving me the finger. And then I tucked it away. And a couple of years later, I hit the road with the first tour I did with the band Toto. And I thought that was really cool. So maybe I'll do that again. So and I'd known all those guys forever. So I got, Lukather and Simon Phillips and all the guys to flip me off. And at that point, it got up to about 300 some pictures. And it kind of took on a life of its own. It's like when you're collecting things, if you have one of something, it's cool. But when you suddenly have 10 of something, then it becomes a different thing. It's a collection. And so I ended up with going like to the trade shows like the NAMM show, and people started coming up to me, and they'd walk up to me and they'd go, "I'm supposed to do this, aren't I?" You know, and I'd go, "Sure." And I'd leave like each day at NAMM with like 500 pictures of all kinds of characters. And so every gig I would do, every time I worked with somebody, I was just grabbing them. And it runs the whole gamut from, you know, having people like Charlie Watts and Jeff Beck and Phil Collins and James Taylor and all these people, to like people I, you know, like I meet at baggage claim at the airport, or you know, and kind of anywhere. Because I'll say to somebody, I'll find somebody that looks really interesting to me. I go, "Hey, come on, flip me off." And they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Come on, flip me off." And they go, "Hey, man, yeah." But you get that whole thing of like somebody who's like, "Yeah," to the people that are, you know, I mean, it's like the whole gamut of humanity. And that's, to me, what the book is. It's really kind of an expression of humanity. I don't look at, the only time giving the finger might be of any consequences if like you're driving on the freeway and there's a load of people in the car next to you screaming at you, giving the finger. I mean, it might be an uncomfortable situation. But other than that, the book starts with babies. I mean, the first section of
Oh,
it's,
yes.
yeah, it's little babies and they're laying there. You know, a friend of mine gave me a picture of his daughter's ultrasound, and the fetus was giving the finger. So it's not like it was an acquired, you know, situation. Here we go.
Yeah, I got one of my daughter and my son. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is what it is. So, but I was at a get together with a local artist here who's like a world renowned artist named Kenton Nelson, and he was having a get together in his backyard. And one of the guys there was a guy named Blue Tremarchi. His name's Richard, but his nickname's Blue, and he has a company called Art Alliance. And I started talking to him about these pictures, and I said, "Yeah, everybody's bugged me for years saying, are you ever going to do a book?" And the pandemic had hit, and he said, "Well, now might be the time to do it." And he and I got together, and I gave him a stick with 6,000 pictures on it, and he took it home for a couple of weeks and went through and started going, or I gave him the 12,000 pictures, and he started going through and finding them. And then we sat in his office for ages assembling this book. And I mean, and I went in deep on this thing. I mean, with the padded cover and having all the pictures on the inside, you know, front and back, rather than white paper, which normally you would see. There's so it's really became an absolute labor of love. And then all of a sudden I had to create a website to sell them, because I self-published and did everything with Richard and myself. And so I went to get like lelandsklar.com, and they said, "Oh no, somebody owns that." Then I said, "Well, how about leesklar.com?" And they said, "No, somebody owns that," probably expecting at some point that I would come to them and want to give them lots of money to get my name back. And I thought, you know, screw that crap. So I just decided to call it lelandskalarsbeard.com. And that was available. And so I've got the website for the book, where I just delivered another load of them today to the post office. You can either buy an unsigned book or a signed personalized book. And it's really been so much fun doing this, and then creating the website. Then we decided to make a T-shirt that has my beard on the front of it. So all these people keep sending me pictures of them with their T-shirts on with a beard on them. And then I was a science and art major in college, and we digitized a bunch of my paintings and illustrations and drawings, and that's available on the website also. And those are limited edition, like museum quality prints that are signed and numbered. So there's a limited number of those. And so it's you know, I mean, I just looked at it as I had this time now to address things I had never done before. And I thought, hell, let's just go for it. And it ended up probably being one of the busiest times I've ever had, because like when I'd be in the studio or touring, there's lapses in there. This has been relentless. This is every day I'm dealing with books, with YouTube, with all kinds of stuff. But it's what I love to do. I really thrive on being busy. So it's been an amazing time. And then on the YouTube channel, there is the clubhouse on that, and every video I've put up has links to all of this stuff. But the clubhouse also has like a gift shop, so you can go there and there's different T-shirts there and mugs and all that stuff. So I just sat that one day and I just thought, I was never made for retail. It's a lot of work. Just let me play bass and get the hell out of Dodge. So it's been cool. It's been really great, and I've connected with a ton of great people through all this. And the book really became kind of a leveler. I'm getting ready to do a video soon for the holidays.
Ooh, there you go.
And I'm gonna just say, hey, the perfect Christmas gift would be this book and all that stuff, and just get out, because everybody who's gotten it just has had the best time going through it and finding all of these people in there, and just the whole idea of it is really so silly.
I absolutely love the book.
That's so cool.
I'm pretty sure everybody would too. Actors, people. I mean, it's, as a musician and everything that you've done, you've encountered so many people, and that's the music industry. That's the reality of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's something to value, to bring them into the light with a representation of this reality with them as well. So I admire that.
That's the saddest thing is that Eureka doesn't have a finger. I would love to get
Right.
That would be great. That would be something special.
Definitely.
Leland, I know we're getting close to the end of the show. I have a friend here that was particularly excited to be doing the interview this evening, and he wanted to ask you. He couldn't be here, but he's on my phone over here on FaceTime. So he is wondering, what your opinion is on what the greatest undervalued tool for musicians is today.
Undervalued tool. Wow. That's interesting. Give me 1 second to actually think of an answer instead of mouthing something off.
Sorry to stump you, sir.
No, it's not a stump. I mean, there's a number of things. I mean, I know one of the tools that meant the most to me when I was learning, even though I was studying with teachers and stuff, was playing along with music. As a kid, I would. I grew up with a hi-fi, and records. But I loved, just playing records and playing along with them, and just spending time learning them. And back, I mean, you can do it digitally, but one of the things that was always great to me was I would learn a song on 33 1/3, and then bump the speed of the turntable to 45. Which would change the key and the tempo of it. But I knew the parts. So all of a sudden when I was hearing it, I was like really roaring through it. And then I'd go back to 33 1/3. All of a sudden, my relationship was different with the music because I had experienced it incredibly intense. And all of a sudden it opened up again, and it gave me a chance to think about more lyrical things and stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that are undervalued. I mean, some people have, their musical experience has always been very singular, where they're sitting home learning their instrument, and then when they start to play with other musicians, they don't understand the concept of tempo and groove and all that. Where if they maybe practiced with a metronome enough to, I'm not a person who I play with click tracks all the time. I'm not a big, huge fan of it, but to me, everything is predicated on the individual song. It's not genres. It's not anything blanket. It's each song has its own requirements, no matter what genre it's in. So you find the needs, and for some of them, click tracks are perfect, and that's basically a metronome. But I've ended up doing albums with somebody who sat at home and they're like a folk singer, and they've just played guitar and they sing, and they're really good. But they get in the studio suddenly with a bass player and a drummer and some other players, and they have no concept of time because they're used to not being restricted. They can do whatever they want by themselves. So it can be at times a little uncomfortable for them. And then it requires you to be a kind of, almost mentoring them through it and saying, look, don't get depressed about this. Here, let's just work on it and we'll get it. Don't worry about it. But, and here's what to kind of think about. And but there's a lot of things. I mean, we could probably, if we really hunkered down on it, could easily do a show just about all that kind of stuff. But everybody finds their own journey through this adventure.
He's been following you since he was 8. He's been following you since he was 8 years old, and he's 10 years older than me. So, like, he's been following you for a lot of years, and he's like, if I could be in a studio right now, I'd be hugging you, but he's like, I'm on the job, so I can't be there. But
let me show you also. This is my main instrument. This is the bass that's called Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
And it is just covered with all kinds of people on here.
Oh my!
I mean, right down here in this corner, right here, it's really impossible to see on here. But like George Lucas right there wrote, "May the Force be with you," and then right above it is a little Saturn, and the artist Peter Max put the Saturn on there. And
so I saw that bass on the internet, and I want to show you something.
Cool.
That's intense. That almost made me tear up just to know that there's so much into that bass, more than just sitting and playing it. There's a lot into it.
So I did the same thing with local bands.
Oh, cool. See, that's bitching. That's
not
bitching.
As full, but
yeah, but you can always add to them. I mean, it's weird. This bass ended up being called Frankenstein, which is really a misnomer, because in the scheme of things with Frankenstein, he was the doctor, and then there was the monster who was put together. Well, this was all pieces. This was never a real bass to start with. This was a blank Charvel body, a precision Fender neck that we made into a jazz neck, and EMG pickups and a badass bridge and all this stuff. And we built this back in the early 70s. And it was one of those things that it could have sucked, but when we plugged it in after we built it, I built it with John Carruthers, who used to ran the service department at Westwood Music, which was the big watering hole for all the players in town back in the day. Wow. It just turned out to be a great instrument. And that's probably on 80 to 85% of everything I've ever played is that bass. But people have come and gone on it, because I never clear coded it, because I didn't want to do anything that could potentially change the sound of it. I have another bass, a Yamaha, that was a black bass that we did silver and gold metallic markers on that. And when it got really full, I just took it apart and clear coated it. So, and that's great, because I've got all the old people. I've like Bob Hope and Milton Berle and Debbie Torme and Dick Van Dyke and all these people I've done weird gigs with over the years. So I've got them all on that, besides the Reba McEntires and the Dolly Partons and people like that. So this one, though, people have signed over other people, and people have been rubbed off in certain areas where you've just got a lot of hand action. They just disappeared, but I've still got Jeff Piccaro on there, who's one of my dearest friends. And it's for me, it's not so much the bass itself or anything. It's really, that one is all about the emotional attachment of the people that are on it. And Andy Griffith, I worked with him, and Andy signed it, and Merle Haggard, and all kinds of characters, and so many are gone now. For me, they're still living on that piece of wood.
Yes,
it's really cool.
Leland, I love that you're here with us. Our time is going by, and I could keep you on for so much a longer time frame. I really could. But really,
I'll come back. I'll come back.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Right, Antman?
Yes. I'm normally more involved. I was just soaking all of this in tonight. I'm normally like full of questions. Like, I just really wanted to sit down and have this coffee table conversation.
That's great.
It just was really awesome. Like, awesome. Thank you so much, Leland, for taking time to come and talk to us. Really awesome.
I'm totally delighted to hang with you guys, and anytime you want to try again, let's do it again. So we'll set it up. We'll talk to the great Eileen, and
The great Eileen.
Eileen Shapiro is one of the most fabulous publicist people I've ever known, and so we can talk to her. And if you get a lull anywhere, and you go, get that old guy back.
We've had a lot of commenters in the show tonight saying they could listen to you all day. They're going to go get the book. They love the concept. They love that your bass was back there. All kinds of amazing comments. One thing I'm going to ask you before we wrap up, though, is what is one thing that you want to kind of address to our audience tonight? What is something that you want to give advice or maybe a ideology?
Well, I don't want to go down a political road, but I just want people to be safe in this world, and I'm really hoping that people will really be smart about the situation we're in this world right now, because this problem has been a global problem, and think about vaccinations. I just went today and got my booster shot, and being a science major through school and everything, I firmly follow science, and I'm just really concerned because I've known a number of people that have died during this COVID period, and I'm really scared for people's lives if they don't do the right thing and all of a sudden they find themselves in dire straits. So I'm just hoping people will do what I think is I'm not going to tell you have to do it, but I'm not sympathetic when people don't do it and they get sick. It's pretty sad to me. But we're living in a very difficult, pivotal time in our history, and it's pretty frightening when you look at the statistics and everything of what's going on. But to me, as much as time goes on in our lives. I mean, I'm going to be turning 75. And it's really freaks you out, and on a certain level where you're kind of going, man, the rest of my life looked like it was infinite when I was 25 and 30, but suddenly at this age, you're looking at a finite amount of time left on the calendar, and you think, God, this went by so fast. And I just hate the idea of people kind of wasting that time, with, anger and difficult situations where, then it's like you just kind of want to cherish every day and have as good a day as you possibly can, and hold a snake, and just wrap yourself in that power, and so I wish everybody the very best, man. I just life's hard enough, life's difficult enough when it's all going great, so don't throw anything in the way. Just try to do it as best you can. Blah, 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 blah.
You got time to hate. You got time to create.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I absolutely love the idea of you and this empowerment of a human connection. I really do. And I can't let people know enough to follow you and listen to you. Check out your YouTube channel.
Yeah, please come subscribe to the YouTube channel. It don't cost nothing. And come join the fun. And if you want to join the clubhouse, it's pretty cheap. And it's a great bunch of people on that monthly. I mean, we have such a good time on there. It's become like Mayberry. All of a sudden, we're like living in Mayberry on there. And they're from all over the world hanging out and stuff. And if they want to get the book and stuff, just if you want the autographed one, make sure to include on your order how you would like it personalized, because I personalize all the ones that want that. Yeah. But you guys are cool. You guys are great. I'd love to come back.
I had a birthday recently, and this was my #1 birthday request was everybody loves me. That was actually my birthday request, and that's what I got, and I'm so happy for it.
Well, what we need at this point is happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Roxy. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, gosh.
And then
amazing.
more.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's a pleasure.
Man.
All right. So we'll definitely have you on again, because you're just so profound and so legendary that you can't not be on again.
I'll be waiting.
Thank you, all of our listeners. Be sure to tune in next week. We have Joey Belladonna on, so
Joey's
that's
going to
we
break
got
it down for us. I'm excited
good
about
stuff.
this.
Yes.
Cool.
All right.
Leland,
So-
thank you so much, sir. Definitely. And it's great, a breath of fresh air to hang out with such a humble, amazing person who's been in the game.
You put a smile on my face.
There it is.
There
Boom.
it is.
Love it. Eureka approves. All right. RA Nation, we'll see you next week. Thank you
Take
for
care.
tuning in to Talk 4 TV, W4CY Radio, and Music Familia Productions.
Later, y'all.
Bye-bye.